Everyone has bad years, like we all did in 2020, and that includes NFL teams. But this video isn't about bad. This is about atrocious. We're not talking about one bad year, we're talking about 5 2020s. Stretches of time that will make fans think they are in some Eastern European torture film. The worst 5-year stretches in NFL history is coming up right after this. Life comes at you fast. Yesterday, you were a fun-loving kid. Today, hair grows in places you don't want it to. And if you're going to college, you need to get that under control. You don't want to be known around campus for having little Dickies fro down in your shorts. That's where the Perfect Package 4.0 Performance Bundle comes in, featuring the Lawnmower 4.0, the newly redesigned waterproof cordless trimmer that has skin-safe ceramic blades, and now has a power meter and travel lock. Personally, I love the power meter as it acts like a nightlight when it's charging so I can see and not pee on the floor. The kit comes with all the things you need: crop preserver ball deodorant, crop reviver, even a fresh pair of boxers, and a free travel bag. So after this video, head on over to manscaped.com/5-points and get 20% off your order and free international shipping and 2 free gifts. Again, that's manscaped.com/5-points from the link below. Head off to college with confidence. Manscaped, man maintenance for the modern gentleman. Let's start in Oakland, the home of the greatest football collapse in NFL history. Here's what this 5-year stretch has over the others. It immediately followed a trip to the Super Bowl. That's right, the Raiders won just 19 games from 2003 to 2007. The 3 years before that, they won 11, 10, and 12 games, respectively. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers didn't just beat the Raiders in Super Bowl 37, they broke them down like cardboard Amazon boxes. So how did an AFC juggernaut become a doormat so quickly? Well, they traded John Gruden after the 2001 season, and while Bill Callahan was able to coast on Gruden's roster for a year, he hit the wall when his veteran stars lost their juice. Rich Gannon, the MVP in 2002, was injured and started just 7 games in 2003. Jerry Rice and Tim Brown both hit the wall, and a chronic knee injury ended Rod Woodson's career. Ultimately, it's fair to wonder if the Raiders have ever recovered from the Super Bowl loss to the Bucs. They've made the playoffs just once, had one winning season, and rehired Gruden in an attempt to recapture the magic. How's that going so far? Dick LeBeau was a great defensive coordinator. He was not, however, a good head coach. LeBeau won just 12 of his 45 games in Cincy, while his predecessor Bruce Coslet went just 7-28 from 1998 to 2000. This team was trotting out quarterbacks like Neil O'Donnell, Jeff Blake, Akili Smith, and John Kitna, who along with Blake was decent. But all that losing did help them land Carson Palmer, who got them started on their quest to lose as many wildcard games as possible. Palmer gave way to Andy Dalton. Dalton and Marvin Lewis gave way to Zach Taylor, and now the Bengals are just as bad as they were back then. Unless Joe Burrow has something to say. God damn it. Before becoming the most dominant franchise in NFL history from 2001 to 2019, the New England Patriots were mere mortals like the rest of us. Perhaps even less so from the late 80s into the mid-90s. The team bottomed out in 1990 under head coach Rod Rust, then spent their number 1 overall pick on, well, no one. They traded the pick to the Cowboys and spent the 14th overall pick on running back Leonard Russell, who spent just 3 seasons as a Patriot. The team nearly moved to St. Louis before they were purchased in 1994 by Boston paper magnate, some guy by the name of Robert Kraft. I guess that had a happy ending. That also coincided with the hiring of Bill Parcells and the use of the number 1 overall pick on Drew Bledsoe, who actually is known for being more than being the Wally Pipp to Tom Brady's Lou Gehrig. Bledsoe led the team to the Super Bowl in 1996, officially ending their early 90s irrelevance. So why were the Patriots so bad those 5 years? Well, they managed to have 4 head coaches in that span, and their best quarterback during that stretch was a rookie Bledsoe, who tossed 15 touchdowns and 15 picks in '93. Every other QB during that stretch had a negative touchdown to interception ratio. And no, punishment like that is not karma for getting Brady. There's one play that perfectly exhibits the ineptitude of the Detroit Lions in the back half of the 2000s. In 2008, the Detroit Lions became the first team in NFL history to finish a season with an 0-16 record. The Texans might be eyeing history too. Of course, that landed them Matthew Stafford with the first pick in 2009, and regardless of whether you think Stafford is a great quarterback or an okay one, he was certainly good enough to wade them out of deep waters. Somehow, though, it could have been worse. In 2007, the Lions picked Calvin Johnson second overall. One pick after Jamarcus Russell. If the Raiders had passed on Russell, would the Lions have snatched him up? But let's hear what Lions GM Matt Millen had to say about meeting with Jamarcus Russell. I kept talking to him. I asked him questions, and he looks at his watch, Millen said. I said, "You got someplace you need to be?" And he goes, "Oh, no. I'm sorry. Sorry, sir." Okay, good to know. They weren't going to draft Russell, but it could have been worse. And the most shocking revelation in this video is that Jamarcus Russell was so dumb, Matt Millen was right about him. 2 words, Blaine Gabbert. Another 2 words, Blake Bortles. The Jacksonville Jaguars rested their fate in the hands of 2 guys that sound like side characters on a Netflix spinoff about the Pirates of the Caribbean, and it cost them dearly. Yar, I'm Blaine Gabbert, and I am Blake Bortles. In 2011, the Jags took Gabbert with the 10th overall pick. The literal next pick, J.J. Watt. So not only did they miss on a future Hall of Famer, they lost him to a division rival. Watt has 17 of his 101 career sacks against the Jags. In 2012 and 2013, the Jags won just 11 games, thanks to number 11. That earned them the right to draft Blake Bortles in the 2014 NFL Draft, ahead of other options like Khalil Mack and Mike Evans, or other quarterbacks like Teddy Bridgewater or Derek Carr. I guess it could have been worse. The Houston Oilers are on this list, but there's something that sets them apart from the other teams. For 3 of these 5 years, they were quarterbacked by a Hall of Famer. Yup, Warren Moon was their starting quarterback from 1984 through 1986, and still the team only won 13 games in those 3 years. They were especially patient with Moon, who in his 3rd season as a starter threw 13 touchdowns and 26 interceptions. Obviously, their commitment paid off, but not until they suffered a brutal half-decade in the post-Love Ya Blue era of Earl Campbell and Dan Pastorini. But what about before Warren Moon? The leading passer on the 2-14 1983 Houston Oilers, that would be Oliver Luck, the father of former Colts quarterback Andrew Luck. And Oliver Luck's backup, that would be Archie Manning, father of Peyton and Eli. The Oilers had the right last names, but the wrong first names. Though a lot of talent was swimming in those ball sacks. Somehow, this stretch does not involve the inaugural Bucs team that finished 0-14 in 1976. It does involve one of the worst decisions in NFL history, however, the mismanagement of Steve Young. Young reported to the Bucs in 1985 after ghosting them for the USFL, only to play bad on a bad team and finally receive a trade to the 49ers, where he became Joe Montana's backup and then a Hall of Famer himself. That just about sums up the Bucs in the mid-80s. They chose Steve DeBerg over Steve Young. But that's what bad teams do. They fail to recognize talent, and even when they do luck into a star, they squander their gifts and ship them off to the teams who can recognize talent. The Bills were hot garbage in the late 60s, but it wasn't always like that. Immediately before they started losing in 1967, the Bills had won 4 straight division titles from 1963 to 1966. Did somebody say 4 straight? They were a juggernaut in the early days of the AFL, and it all came crashing down. Quarterback Jack Kemp lost his touch. He was injured along with all his replacements, and the departure of Lou Saban left a vacuum at the head coaching spot that wasn't truly ever filled until he returned in 1972. Of course, you know who else drugged them out of obscurity and carried them back to the playoffs, right? For this next one, I'm going to turn it over to long-suffering Rams fan, Black Flags Matter. Take it away, Darian.
After the Greatest Show on Turf officially disbanded, the St. Louis Rams totally collapsed. They cycled through Mark Bulger, Kyle Bowler, some guy named Keith Noll who in fact threw 5 interceptions in his first career start, and they eventually drafted Sam Bradford, whose knees were pretty much made of paper mache. Despite the team around him, Steven Jackson still managed to be one of the best running backs in the NFL during this era. Jackson put up at least 1,000 rushing yards in every one of these seasons, looking like he was the only Ram who carried them at times. But this team was dreadful no matter who was the coach, Scott Linehan, Jim Haslett, or Steve Spagnuolo. The Rams even snuck in a 7-9 season during Sam Bradford's rookie year, but were so bad the other 4 seasons that it brought their total win percentage down to just 20%. This was truly the worst show on turf.
And now for the worst 5-year stretch in NFL history. I'll be swimming in the lake if the Browns go 1-15 again. Those were the words of Hugh Jackson immediately following a 1-15 season in 2016. Well, he and the Browns didn't go 1-15 again. They managed to do worse, going 0-16, matching the 2008 Detroit Lions as the worst single-season team of all time. Texans still eyeing that this year. Jackson stuck to his word, plunged himself in the waters of Lake Erie, and cleansed himself of the Browns' losing ways. Unfortunately, Jackson was fired midway into the Browns' 2018 season, where they nearly pulled together a 500 campaign. But the team didn't go 1-31 by accident. You can talk about the fact that they spent 2 first-rounders on Justin Gilbert and Johnny Manziel in the same loaded draft. You can talk about letting Kyle Shanahan out the door. You can even bring up the time they accidentally broadcasted porn in their team facility back in 2014. It all goes to show that the Cleveland Browns for 5 years were run by people who didn't know what the fuck they were doing. A team that let Hugh Jackson stick around after 1 win in 2 years. A team that drafted Deshaun Kaiser, Cody Kessler, and Brandon Smokin' DeWeeden. A team that spent a first-round pick on Barkevious Mingo in 2013. You add up the sum of these parts, and you have the worst 5-year stretch in NFL history. Congrats, Browns. You finally won something. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And yes, I am sick, and my voice sounds funny. I'm 5 Points Vids, and you made it to my next video.